Well, good morning, Andrea. How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
Great. Doing great, doing great. I'm loving the energy that you're bringing, like, right out of the gate. It's awesome.
Thank you. And I'm so thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk about menopause.
Yeah, right?
Get right in there.
Well, you gotta get right in there, right? And that's
Absolutely.
what we're here to talk about. So Andrea, welcome to meeting you where you're at. We're so excited, like I said, to have you here. And the fact that you and I were able to catch up a couple of times and really kind of hone in on what we're going to talk about today, which is menopause, right? Which is an important topic. I was thinking about it. We're in the same age bracket, you and I, and my wife is going through, what many of women our age are going through right now, and
All of the women our age are going
all of
through
the
right
women are
now.
going through it, yeah, and yet it's this, crazy stigmatized thing that we're gonna break down today. So I love it, and I love to do this with you. So thank you. Um, I love a good origin story, Andrea. So maybe we could start with that. First, just maybe introduce yourself a little bit, but I do wanna get into what inspired you to co-found the Whiny-Guiny.
Yeah. So my name's Andrea Giancontieri. I am a 54-year-old menopausal woman.
Mhm.
My experience was that I started to experience a whole myriad of symptoms in my late 40s, and I didn't know that they were perimenopausal or menopausal symptoms.
Mm,
I had an IUD. I had no idea when my last period was, or if I had irregular periods, any of the signs that would have definitely said perimenopause, menopause. And I started initially with the orthopedic because I started to have arthritis in my knees. And then I developed allergies to products I'd used forever. So I was at the dermatologist and the allergist. Um, and I was at the PT for my knees. And then I started to experience tooth sensitivity. So I'm at the dentist and I'm at the periodontist.
oh gosh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it gets better. I was having night sweats. I mean, I still was thinking like I'm too young for this. It wasn't
Right.
even like
Yeah.
registering with
My
me.
mother went through menopause. I didn't do that.
Like, what am I talking about? No, I'm young. I'm vibrant. I'm in my head 35. Um, and and then I started to experience some urinary incontinence, which I thought only happened to women who had babies, and I didn't have any babies. So I was
Right.
like, what is this?
Happening. Yeah.
And and I went to pelvic floor physical therapy, so I was basically at a ton of doctors, and no one said the word menopause, no one
Mm.
said perimenopause, and then I woke up one morning with fine dark hair, literally, like, covering my cheeks and my neck, and I sent a picture off to the doctor, and they said, "Oh, this couldn't have happened overnight, you must not have noticed," and I was like, "Oh,
I
yeah,
look at myself every day. I look.
every day." And I mean, like, full disclosure, this is not my natural hair color. My eyebrows are tattooed. I'm filled. I'm Botoxed. I'm like all the things. I didn't notice. I didn't notice that I was growing a beard.
Right, right,
And
right.
and like
Seems a
and
little far-fetched,
yeah.
doctor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I went to the threading salon because again, I'd had all these allergies.
Yep.
So I'm like, threading at least is non-chemical. And the esthetician said, "Oh, honey, it's the hormones."
Yeah.
And that was, like, the first person to say the word hormones,
Hold
which
on.
then immediately triggered for me, and then I went to the gynecologist and
Mm.
I started again, and I was told I wasn't a candidate for hormone therapy,
Mhm.
when in actuality I was. My doctors did not have the up-to-date or the nurse practitioner at my provider's office did not have up-to-date information. I have a gene mutation called factor V Leiden.
Oh, sure.
It Yeah, and so it's hereditary, obviously. My father has it, which is how I know that I even have this.
Mm.
And it's a predisposition to blood clots.
Yeah.
So it is what scared my GYN's office off from prescribing for me, but it turns out it's not a contraindication because I'm not obese, I'm not a smoker, I don't have any of the other
Right,
things that would say you can't take this.
right.
So, a friend visited from London, and she had this gel with her, and we were, hanging out in the bathroom, because we're, 50-year-old women and we're
Yeah,
chatting
yeah,
because
why not? Yeah, yeah.
something-year-old women, and I was like, "What is that?" She's like, "Oh, it's my estrogen gel." 'Cause gel is really common in the UK, patches are more common here, we can
Mm.
get either in either place, but and I said, "Oh, I can't take it, I have factor V Leiden," and she was like, "Oh, yeah, so do I."
Hmm.
I was like, "Wha Wait a
What?
minute,
Yeah,
like,
right.
what?"
Game changer. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was like, "It's not like England is a place where you don't have good medical research or information and people are just
Right, right. Yeah,
willy-nilly
this is in a
handing."
developing country. Yeah.
Yeah, so then I started advocating, researching along with my pelvic floor physical therapist about the
Hmm.
safety of estrogen for me. And like the urogynecologist had also denied me estrogen, vaginal estrogen, which is safe for like basically almost like everyone. And so I started researching along with the help of my pelvic floor physical therapist. And so I came to understand I was a candidate. I
Mm,
sought treatment from a telehealth provider because I couldn't get in locally to an in-person menopause training provider,
mm.
or the one that I knew about,
Sure.
right? Because the awareness and provider lists are terrible. The health connector is terrible for identifying menopause providers. They just assume every GYN is a menopause trained person. That's not accurate.
Mm,
And then I was talking to a colleague, and she was having a similar experience, and we just said, quite frankly, "F this, we're gonna do it ourselves." Like,
yeah.
we can't have this for other people, and that's how the Whiny-Guiny, that's how we knew we were gonna have a company. That's how not how we knew it was gonna be called the Whiny-Guiny.
Right, right. But
Yeah.
again, this gap, right? In so many, well, there's so much to unpack here. So first of all, I just want to go back up for 1 second. Just to be clear, you were denied estrogen therapy so many times just based upon the
Right.
genetic twice, just based upon the genetic composition and the mutation. Okay.
Exactly.
Even though they didn't know that it was not contraindicated. Okay. All right. So
Even though the minute I did a search, I found resources from credible organizations, the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic,
yeah.
the Menopause, Society, even though that information, had anybody just Googled or done
Mm.
a such search, had they done any amount of continuing education, they would have known that they were giving me inaccurate information.
The second thing I wanted to get on for 1 minute is you said that people have the assumption that all OBGYNs are trained as, in menopause and
Yeah.
understand perimenopause and menopause. Not true.
Not at all true.
Mm,
So, some programs, only 31% of medical schools have any menopause curriculum.
mm,
And so people might get like an hour or two. Typically, it's an opt-in,
mm.
right? It's an opt-in learning session, or a couple of courses, but it is, and at most, I'm hearing like 4 hours.
Wow.
And so it's really that the provider has to opt in for the
Good.
continuing education
Understood.
or any
Understood.
education about menopause.
Well, so thank you, you and Jen, for kind of like seeing this menopause conversation and
Yeah.
feeling compelled to fill the gaps in this
Yeah.
menopause conversation. I have two questions. I'm trying to think
Yeah.
of how I want to phrase them or order them. One is I'm particularly interested in how your professional background has sort of shaped your approach here, advocacy, content creation in
Yeah.
women's health. But then I also want to talk a little bit more, and we alluded to this at the beginning of our conversation. Why is this still so under discussed and stigmatized even in 2025 when all of us Gen Xers, not all of us, all of us female Gen Xers are going through this, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. But maybe let's get into a little bit about more about your professional background.
Yeah. So my professional background is as a digital marketer.
Mhm.
I'm a media buyer. I've worked on brands that that
Name
maybe
brand.
coffee
Yeah,
you buy all the
yeah,
time,
yeah.
or VoIP service that you've used, or the tires that you have on your car, the paint that's in your house. Or I've driven you to particular destinations from a tourist perspective, or helped you find your PCP or your GYN. So I have done all those things. And I think, and before that, though, I want to say that I also worked for a women's nonprofit.
Oh, okay.
And so, and my family is very steeped in volunteerism and activism,
Beautiful.
advocacy. So my brother, really, it's more than my career. It's my family history. My brother is significantly disabled. He's nonverbal. He has required care, and an extensive amount of care, since a very young age. And my parents began advocating for him.
Mm,
And through that, I became an advocate as well.
sure.
So volunteerism, that was just what we did. My father was on a nonprofit board it's an organization called the Center for Discovery in Harris, New York. He was on that board for 43 years. He retired with emeritus status not that long ago. I watched him. By the time I was a teenager, I was invited to be the teenage representative to the Sullivan County, New York Committee on Teenage Health and Sexuality. And my
Wow.
parents had to drive me to those meetings, right? I was that young. And I don't know how it was me, but it was me because I wasn't ever afraid to speak up for
Yeah.
underserved populations or underrepresented
Well,
populations.
it was built into your environment, right?
I
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. We were all hands on deck when I was a kid.
Mhm.
Everybody was in it. And so then when I went to work for a women's newspaper, was a scrappy organization, and we were all empowered, and we were working really hard toward a common goal, which was to elevate women. And then, because it was a nonprofit and I had to pay my bills, I went into advertising, right? Because I was actually in advertising for the women's organization, but I went into, the profiting agency scenario. So, and in that scenario, I had to learn about each of my clients' businesses. Right? Like, in what world was I going to know about Vonage or VoIP, right? Voice
Right.
over
Like,
IP,
I gotta learn this stuff. Yeah.
right? Or that Dunkin' Donuts, like in this market, they want to sell you something because coffee is automatically going to come with it. Like, I had to learn all these different things. I had to learn about paint brands. Like, I did all these different things, and with that, I had to launch a clinic where people could walk in for a certain pharmacy organization, right? Like, so through all these things, I had to become an expert in each of these different businesses. So I was used to being able to absorb information really quickly to be able to communicate a message or find out where that advertising should be placed,
Okay.
and also to analyze those results.
Okay.
So all that stuff combined made it very natural for me to be in
Yeah,
this space.
beautiful fit for you.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah.
I think, and so let's talk a little bit about the stigmatization now.
Yeah.
Why it's still so stigmatized, under discussed.
Yeah.
What's going on there? Like, what is?
Women have been, especially in this country, have been encouraged from a very young age to hide who they are,
Mhm.
to minimize themselves, to become smaller, and to not be interrupters,
Right.
and to be agreeable and likable. It's the same reason a young girl's hiding her pad or her tampon on her way
Right.
to the
Cool. Yep.
bathroom in the school. Is the
Yep.
same reason
This
why
feeling of shame or embarrassment. Yeah. Yep.
shame, embarrassment, anything that would assist or encourage the perception that we're less than or weaker than is
Sure.
something we've been encouraged to hide.
Sure.
And so there are symptoms of menopause that are very difficult to hide.
Mhm.
Those are your vasomotor symptoms, your hot flashes,
Sure.
kind of things. There are symptoms that are impossible to hide, and so we're outed.
Yeah.
We're outed, but the stigma is there because medical schools, doctors have been taught to gaslight women.
Yeah.
Right? That's the whole whiny woman
Yep.
WW thing.
Yep.
So if a woman is presenting with a symptom a doctor doesn't know how to handle, they've been categorized,
I've seen it.
and
Yeah.
dismissed.
Seen it in
Um,
my own family. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's all part of it. So unless and until this transition is recognized and women are not perceived as less than or incapable or, you know, um just undesirable,
Yeah.
unless and until that happens, unless until the medical community, um, acknowledges the realness of the menopause symptoms, some of which are very severe and
Mhm.
significant for women, until all those things happen, we will continue to be,
Sure.
underrepresented, minimized, and dismissed.
And thankfully, organizations like yours exist to try, right, to combat that minimalization, that
Yes.
underrepresentation. And one of the things I appreciate is right in your name, whiny,
Yeah.
gyny. You're destigmatizing that term, the whiny woman. I
Yes.
love how you guys mix the facts with the humor,
Yeah.
and bring in the relatability, and that tone.
Yes.
It seems very, very deliberate. I'm sure it was. Talk to me about how that kind of,
Yeah.
what the genesis of that was.
So, being unapologetically who were and are is always successful to us, and we don't know how to be anybody else.
Sure.
So, we bring that irreverence, we bring that we're self-deprecating. I mean, I'm at a concert with a neck fan and a cooling towel and a handheld fan,
Yep.
and I everywhere I go, I'm like, "I'm in menopause." Like, I'm
Yeah,
not
I'm
gonna
not
be
making an excuse for
well
this. Yeah. Yeah.
at all, right? And
And
so
people are probably like, "Hey, where'd you get that next fan?"
I should bring extra with me, quite honestly. We have talked about branding them, and we just don't know if that is a good spot for branding, but we have talked about all different things.
You'll
And
figure
by
it
the
out.
way, nobody else can jump in there because our trademark application is going out. Today's the 29th. It'll get published today with people can object over the next 30 days, but then after that, it's ours. So
Awesome.
but we got that notice that was going through, crossing our fingers,
Cross
right?
my fingers. Yep.
Yeah, but so whiny I just wanna tell you the origin of Whiny-Guiny. You understand what it is, the whiny woman. So when we started hearing about this whiny woman WW thing, I always look for confirmation, which I know is a question that's gonna come up from you. How do you confirm things, right? So I went to a surgeon friend And I said, "Is it true that women are called whiny women or WWs?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, Whiny-Guiny." And so we did
You were
opt
like,
to
"Okay,
use
we're
that name.
taking the power away from that right now." Yeah.
That was exactly it. We're gonna take this term and make it so it cannot be weaponized against
Yep.
women. And
Nice.
we'll be litigious. So
Yeah.
go ahead, try us. We're not it's not gonna work for you. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about reaction. What are people
Yeah.
saying? What are doctors saying? Are they like, "Oh, these
Yeah.
ladies," or I mean, let's talk about what's happening,
Yeah.
you know?
I will tell you my own gynecologist, my own menopause certified, endocrinologist, my own, dentist.
Mhm.
They're very interested. My PCP was the only person a little bit skeptical. He's like, "What are you gonna do with this?" And I was like, "I'm gonna make sure women have better than I did."
Right,
You know,
right. I'm
um,
just trying to make it better than how I found it. Yep,
and
absolutely.
our real thing is we wanna be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Right.
So, we have doctors who hand out our business cards in their offices for us, which is really cool. And that I have, the threading salon where they I was originally diagnosed with menopause. I went in there the other day, they only have one of our cards left. I was like, "Here's some
Here's
more."
some more. Yeah, let's get these handed
Um,
out. Yeah.
we've been overwhelmingly positive. We have doctors that follow us online. Mary Claire Haver is a very popular menopause,
Hmm.
like, social media doctor. She had sent us a note one day telling us she was obsessed with us, like her words. We reach out to doctors that are in our network because now from doing this work, we have doctors in the network. Whenever something new comes up or we're unsure or we haven't heard of something, we reach out to them
Mm.
for information. How do you feel about this legislation?
Yeah.
How do you feel about this approach? Some doctors online are saying you can do this. Some doctors are saying you can't. What is your
What's your
position?
position? Yeah.
And they're great. They're like the Menopause Society because the doctors we work with are Menopause Society or North American Menopause Society, now referred to as the Menopause Society. They're all certified by that organization,
Oh, wow.
which is not a prerequisite to practice in this
Sure,
space, but
sure.
it
Certainly
there's
seems like it would help though, you know?
yeah, so we
Yeah.
reach out to them. We have a menopause certified psychiatrist.
Mhm.
We have 2 menopause certified or 3 menopause certified gynecologists, and a menopause certified endocrinologist that we can reach out to and get their position on things.
Mm.
And, because we don't again, we wanna be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of legislation,
Yes.
last time you and I talked over email, in terms of what you folks are doing for policy and advocacy, you
Yep.
were getting ready to testify in support of House Bill 2499 here
Yeah,
in the state of Massachusetts.
absolutely.
What's that about?
Okay, so House Bill 2499 is for provider and patient awareness of menopause and, a study or task force to study workplace accommodations for menopause.
Hmm,
It is coming out of Representative Joan Machino's office.
okay.
And we testified on July 10th in support of that bill. I traveled through that July 10th was a horrific weather day. It took me over 2 hours to get to Boston. I missed my name getting called. I ran in and had
Oh,
to run
Lord.
right up and testify. It was the in 15 years that I commuted to Boston, it was like the in the
Of
top
course.
2 worst commutes.
Of course it was, because it was really important to you that it
It
happened.
was really important, and,
Yeah.
like, being, a little bit late was problematic, and I had a slew. I had 2 carloads of people going from my house. 1 carload missed my testimony entirely. The other one, got to see part of it, because I ran. I ran for I don't run, I need a knee replacement. I'm actually getting a knee replacement December 19th, but I ran into the
Okay.
state house as fast as
Yeah.
I could, like, hobbled more likely, but, and I was able to give my testimony along with some very other compelling and
Great,
engaging women,
great.
and so Marjorie Decker is the chair of
Oh,
public
yeah.
health
Yep,
for Massachusetts.
yep.
She was the person I was essentially, along with the other folks, testifying in front of. After that testimony, she reached out to me, and now she has a bill that 2499 might end up getting rolled into.
Okay.
Um, and I'll be working with her a little bit on that
Oh, wow.
legislation, which is
Wonderful. Oh,
really
yeah. Yeah.
exciting. We traded resources. We had a wonderful
Very
call.
exciting.
And she, after my testimony, got applause, which was
Oh,
apparently people are not supposed to do that. Who knew?
right,
I've never testified
right.
before.
Before the House
Um,
committee.
and then she's like, admonishing people for applauding. And then in the end, she had said, "I'm with you," one time when she admonished people. And at the end, she said, "I'm cheering in my head."
Oh, that's sweet.
And then we had the call, and
Mm,
I'm so
yeah,
excited. I'm so
that's
excited
really
to work with, um,
that's really sweet.
Representative Machino and Representative Decker on menopause legislation for the state.
Let's just keep this going, right?
Yes.
I mean that I can't I've never testified in front of the state house or anybody for that matter. I don't know what that was like for you. And then having to know that you all your preparation probably felt like completely thrown out the window when you had to have this emergency get there on time, but, I
Yeah,
can still feel the passion in what you delivered, so that's amazing.
and we had 3 minutes to talk.
Wow.
3 minutes, and I used a couple of seconds to apologize for being tardy, and then I paused for applause, and she let me go over. I was so excited, because had she cut me off, I would have been beating myself up,
Yeah, yeah.
because I practiced it. I had it down to 2:47.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it did not go that way.
Well, wow. I mean, that just also shows your conviction that you practiced this, you got it
Oh,
down to 2:47, you really understood the, assignment of 3 minutes, right? Yeah,
I was warned.
yeah.
I had managed the all-inclusive Boston,
Oh, yeah,
advertising account for the return to tourism,
yeah,
and Joyce Linehan, who worked in economic development under Marty Walsh, was one of my clients, and when I mentioned to her that there is the potential that I could be testifying, and she said, "You better practice." She said, "Bring in your personality, practice, get it down because they will stop you. They
sure.
will stop you, and you're not gonna have any notice, so you better start work now."
Yes, wow.
And so, I had a little bit more notice because of the July 4th holiday, I
Oh,
think.
sure, okay,
So,
yeah, that makes sense.
otherwise, I was told you might have as little as 2 days notice, so
Wow, so be
prep,
ready.
be
Yeah,
ready.
be
Yeah.
ready. That's amazing. Andrea, advocacy and entrepreneurship, these are both, like, they can be very lonely things. You do have your partner, you do have your community. You have a lot of really interesting personal passions, that I love about you. And, but advocacy and entrepreneurship are almost all consuming sometimes. So
Yeah.
where do you find the opportunity to bring your personal passions, your own well-being into what you are doing, keep yourself grounded, keep yourself energized? Because either one of these things is like full time. So it's so hard to think about. Yeah.
So, I've had my own company for 15 years.
Okay. So
And
that's good
so
training ground for you. Yeah.
absolutely. So, and when you're self-employed, business ebbs and flows.
Mhm.
So, in the ebbs, I've always just had a super chill time, and and when it's flowing, if I already have plans, I just work all night, and I've always been that way.
Yeah.
And not everybody can do that. Not everyone's entrepreneurial. I mean, my parents owned a small store when I was a kid. There's so much background I have. Being an entrepreneur just makes sense. If there's this PI score thing. I'm a maverick in that.
Oh, yeah.
It
Yes.
just
The predictive index. Yes.
the
Yep. Yep.
predictive index. Yeah. I just took that test yesterday. I'll get people thought that I was going to be a persuader. I was a maverick.
Yeah.
So that apparently aligns very well with my entrepreneurial spirit. So
Yes.
I'm a
Totally.
go big or go home person.
Awesome.
So if I'm going to the concert, I'm going, I'm staying till the end. And then if I have to work when I get home, I have to work when I get home. If I have a personal commitment to myself,
Keep it
I keep it. Because I don't cancel appointments.
right.
So I make an appointment for myself. I make an
Mhm.
appointment for the business.
Mm.
And when I'm out and about, a lot of times I end up shooting content for the business.
Yeah.
Um, or you
Which
never
makes a lot
know.
of sense because it is in many ways the life that you are living right now, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In terms of, kind of the resilience aspect though, Andrea, is it, you mentioned this has been built into you from as a child. You ran your own business for 15 years, but you're doing all this advocacy.
Yeah.
You and your partner are building this from the ground up. I know a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to, they do have that resilience. So maybe
Yeah.
less about your resilience experience, because I think we understand that, but what's your maybe resilience advice, I guess, Andrea?
Yeah. So if you don't want to do it, don't do it.
Oh, that's a good
Right.
piece of advice. Yeah.
I was once told that knowing what you can't do can be even more important to knowing what you can or want to do.
Hmm.
And that was in relation to my level of involvement in my brother's care, right?
Okay.
And it was in a group situation with other siblings from the organization where my brother lives. And I have taken that to heart. Knowing what I can't do or don't want to do is just as important to knowing what I do want to do and what I can do.
Gotcha.
And that's not to say I put limitations on myself. That's to say that I have healthy boundaries
Right.
that continue me propelling forward.
Okay. Of
And are there days when I don't feel like making a video? Sure. And we
course.
use some stupid template or make something ridiculous. We usually reserve those for the weekends
Sure.
because the traffic's not as great. So you might see something absolutely silly.
Right.
Me saying that I look like the Hamburglar in my bathing suit, like just something, like, you know,
Was it striped? Is that what it was?
yes,
Or-
it was black and white stripe with a red bottom, and then I had a big brim hat on, and I was like, "What do I look like as a Hamburglar?" It was, something as silly or stupid as that.
Oh,
And then
that's
perverts
awesome.
come out and comment, but, no,
But
right?
what you said is like even I think a lot of times that those smaller, sort of more personal moments, like you said, not everything has to be this big, heavy data. These smaller personal moments that you are willing to share,
Yeah.
that to me is what brings the authenticity. And that's what's going to make people ultimately trust you and believe, oh, these women are in this for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of people thank us for not selling anything.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
A lot of people, and that's not to say, like, right now, we recently did a collaboration with an organization that supplies hormones.
Mhm.
They just process prescriptions. They're owned by a pharma company. They're not pushing particular
Pushing supplements.
meds
Yeah.
or
Or
anything like
whatever.
that.
Yeah.
And we did that because it was unique and different.
Sure.
We think that they're using us a lot as advertising people. Were like, we messaged them, we're like, "Oh, the frequency is a little high on this ad." They're like, "Oh, we're so glad you're seeing it." We're like, "No, no, no. The frequency is too high on this ad." But nobody's messaging us saying like, "We're so sick of seeing you guys."
Right. Which is
Which is
great. Yeah.
really, yeah, which is really positive.
Yeah. I've told this story a couple of times on the show, but, there's an influencer that and an advocate that I had a lot of respect for a long time,
Yep.
but I have really felt this very dramatic shift in what she is
Yeah.
doing around product placement now.
Yeah.
It just all seems to be about product placement, and I'm sad because this is someone that oftentimes consumed her content when I was looking for either some sort of inspiration
Yep.
or something to help with my own resilience, but now it feels so much more contrived now. And again,
Yeah.
I'm not blaming her. Like
No.
everybody does things for their own reasons and their own personal, but it's making me, it's interesting to see it
It
happen.
gives you pause, it gives
Yeah.
you pause.
Yeah.
We have 2 people that we've followed. One, I have lipedema, which is a hormonal fat storage disorder. I bring that into our content as well. It's very popular because,
Sure.
it presents in puberty, pregnancy, and menopause.
Yep.
So there's a direct tie. There's somebody that we follow, and everything is product placement.
Product placement. Yeah. It's
Every
interesting. Yeah.
everything is
Yeah.
product placement. And there's another person that we follow, and Pro it's just all product placement all the
Yeah.
time.
And
That
like I said,
I don't wanna
everybody
do
has
that.
reasons for doing what they
Yeah.
do. Like I'm not disparaging it. It's just
I mean, people have to make a living,
sure.
right? And
Yeah.
so we've had 2 paid opportunities so far. We had a paid sponsorship when our first event, very ambitious. We incorporated in September, and in October, we held an event. We hosted a screening of the M Factor film, Shredding the Silence on Menopause, which
Oh
is
yeah.
yeah, we hosted the first screening in Massachusetts for that documentary, and we had a panel discussion.
Nice.
We were very, very, like, we were brazen. We
Yeah.
just were fearless, went out and did it. And now, of course, menopause brain, I lost my train of thought.
That's
But
okay.
like,
I'm with you.
but no, we've had 2 paid opportunities. So
Yeah.
one was a paid sponsorship for that, and we sold tickets.
Mhm.
Our first event out of the gate, like, drove revenue.
Yeah.
Um, and then we've done this collaboration. We are being very intentional
Makes
about
sense.
what we
Yeah,
do
it makes total sense. Yeah.
because we don't wanna be shill for it's
Right.
really most of our opportunities are for supplement companies, which we're not gonna do.
But you're not gonna do. I get that, yeah.
Not
So let's
not
talk about a little bit about the intentions and the
Yeah.
intentionality of what's next. What are we trying to get done between now and the end of this year into next year? What are your dreams, I guess, working towards?
Yeah. So, I will say next year, I want the Ad Club of Boston to bring us on as speakers,
Oh, wow.
at their women's leadership event.
Mhm.
I had the privilege of being named one of the women we admire from the ad club, this
Yeah.
past March, and,
Cool.
yes, it was really I mean, I've worked in the industry for a long time, and it was actually for the menopause work and my mentorship, but, I would like them to bring us on. I would like
Good.
to do more panel discussions,
Nice.
more speaking engagements, and we're also working with an HR consultancy called Circle Strategies to develop a workplace, curriculum for
Oh,
menopause.
beautiful. That's great.
So
That's so needed. Unbelievable. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
there aren't any in Massachusetts right now listed in the directory. The
Right.
state has a directory of trainings, and
Right.
as of our last look, there wasn't one available. So
That's amazing.
those are the kinds of things we want to work with and toward is
Beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. That's great.
yeah,
Let's ask the big question as we kind of bring our time to a close here.
yeah,
There's one thing about the way society views or treats menopause, and
yeah.
you could change it. The wave of the magic wand, Andrea. What would that be?
One swipe of the wand would be for providers to become educated
Mm,
on menopause,
mm,
and that would be, I mean, any provider that treats women.
right,
Any provider that treats women. If your practice is pediatrics, if your practice is only focused on men, then you don't have to learn about it. But if
right.
you're in any other discipline,
You got to learn about this.
yeah, you have to learn
I love it.
about it.
Yep.
Just because you're not taught in medical school, like there are a lot of things doctors aren't taught in medical school, and advancements happen. And they've happened since they graduated from medical school. The expectation is that they're up to speed on those things if
Mm,
they're part of their discipline or specialty. It somehow is acceptable that they don't bother, can't be bothered or intrigued,
yep.
curious enough to learn about how to treat their female patients. So that would be my one
That's a
if
good
I
one.
only had one, that would
That's a
be
good one. That's a good one. Well, I know you guys are gonna go and have many, many of those things. You're gonna change how society views menopause, how it treats menopause, and, we'll be here to watch you doing that. Andrea, how do we find you? How do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, so all of our social channels, you can get them if you go to our website, which is thewhinyguiny.com.
Mhm.
And a link to every single one of our socials is there. You can also, from that site, you can sign up for our newsletter. We send them very infrequently, but when you sign up, you get our transition guide, which tells you how to make a doctor's appointment for
Oh,
your
that's great.
menopause care
That's great.
and how to find a provider to do so. Because you have to, that isn't just a visit you're going to have. You're not going to
Right.
be able to just talk about menopause when you get there. You need to do prep work in advance of that visit.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that. Andrea, before we go, one quick shout out to our mutual friend, Nusad, who got us together.
Yes.
She will love the shout out 'cause she's such an avid listener of the show. So, Andrea.
Yes, she attended one of our panels,
Yes,
one of
yep,
our
yep,
panel
yep,
discussions.
yep,
Love it,
yep,
love it.
absolutely. Andrea, you're a delight. I love talking to you. The
You.
energy is crazy off the chart. Guys, just keep doing what you are doing, and we're gonna be watching, so thank you.
We're about to hit 18,000 followers. So,
I love it.
next goal, 25. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. That's beautiful.
Thank
Well,
you
and
so
you'll
much.
get there. You're very welcome.
Awesome, thanks.